Moin. My name is Anna of Northern Germany, today of the Fire Nation, and not only today, who knows, knows. Let's say like this. And if you watched my previous videos, you already know. If you didn't, you're welcome to watch them. And I'm Anna, I live in Northern Germany. I am an exiled Russian and I also struggle with depression and anxiety every day and trying to cope. And in between my crises, in between of the lifelong crisis, I'm also attempting to write. And this is me, and if you see the name of the video, which was not, I was not planning to make this particular video right now, but I think I feel like sharing, and today I'm going to talk about boundaries, about failing to protect your boundaries, which I do very often, very often, too often, to my disappointment. And probably you have the same problem and you struggle with protecting your boundaries. And I don't know if I will give any recommendations. I will just share my experience and say what I'm thinking about that, and also bring some knowledge that I got from my therapy session. Let's get started. Yeah, so first of all, why I decided to speak about that? Well, it happened last week. It was Tuesday, and it was a typical outcast day in Neumünster, and I belong to Neumünster. It's a town in Germany, in northern Germany, because Bundesamt für Migration and Flüchtlinge is situated there. It's like the thing that takes care of asylum processes, immigration, and all that stuff. And those are also people who provide me with healthcare. And in general, as my friends and I say, that 7 people out of 10 are quite nice there. And but it's not about Banff in general, this video. It was about my magical, exciting trip to gynecologist, and Banff decided to do something really good, to do the best that they could. But as we say in Russia, they wanted to do the best, but it happened as always. And I found myself suddenly, to my great surprise, in Russian surgery. And when I realized that all people around me are speaking Russian, I thought that probably something is going to be wrong. And it went wrong indeed. It was the worst experience by far with gynecologists, and even in Russia it wasn't that unpleasant. Maybe because I didn't expect something like this from Germany. It hit me as a surprise. And yeah, what happened, basically in Russia we have this term like punitive medicine, or like medicine of punishment, which is also usually applied to women, and gynecology in general. We also have psychiatry, the same area, like this crazy medicine wise. And this is when you go to a doctor and you get a lot of pain because they don't care how they're looking you through, of examine you, let's say. And also they ask a bunch of inappropriate questions. Basically, my doctor's visit finished with the phrase, "Are you planning to get married?" And I was stunned and I didn't find what to say. Again, as it always happens in my life, I was surprised, I was stunned, and I didn't know what to say, and I just retreated from this surgery and promised to myself never to be there again. Yeah, so I had a very unpleasant experience. I had like abused kind of course it cannot be compared with the real abuse, but yeah, it feels very disgusting. I cried in my bed for some time, then I did my yoga and managed to calm down, thanks therapy, thanks yoga, thanks pills, all the stuff that I had described in the previous video. But I still have this feeling of unprotected boundaries. And maybe also what I should say about myself, about my boundaries in this video. First of all, maybe the history of the question. First of all, about the place where I was born and where I grew up, and what people think about boundaries there. Well, so to say, boundaries in Russia in the generation of my parents or so, they're non-existent. They're really non-existent, and when you're trying to protect your boundaries, it can be seen quite well. You can get an aggressive reaction, and people are basically dancing on each other's boundaries in Russia. When I lived in Russia, and still I have this trouble, like I was always ready to protect myself when I was going to hospital for a checkup, or when I was going to some office to do some paperwork or whatever it was, or I dealt with the police, or I dealt with anything in Russia, I was ready to fight. I was always in this fight mode, like, yeah, you're going to get my reaction, I'm going to respond. If you insult me, I'm going to respond. So basically, I'm not a crazy person, I'm not insane, I'm not usually aggressive. That's why I always need to prepare myself, and last week I wasn't prepared, and that was the result. And it was very hard to protect your boundaries, and it still is, because people in Russia always demand to respect them only because they're older than you, and especially if this is a teacher or a doctor, they're above you. So, and they see you as they are above you, and parents too. I don't want to say that all people are like this, but my family, well, the patterns are not really healthy in my family, and basically I for example had a room, but the door to my room was never closed, and if I tried to close the room, the reaction that I got was like, we're not a family, you're closing yourself from us. And yeah, that was like, everyone was in everyone's personal space all the time. Neighbors cared like what you look like. Your teachers really cared and really commented on your dating life. Doctors, they consider themselves like in the position to have a right to ask, like, are you going to marry, or why you lost your virginity too early, or why you lost it too late, or why you haven't lost it yet. Haven't you even tried? I heard this question once. Haven't you even tried? Haven't you even attempted? Like, what does this question, what is it supposed to mean? Seriously? And I had many traumatic stories when either I faced people who like really interfered with my boundaries, like for example when I was still like, well, like I call myself a child. I think I was in the 8th grade at school, basically a school child, girl, and I was crazy about Hunger Games. I still am, actually. And I was crazy about Hunger Games, and my friend gave me a t-shirt with Katniss. I was very proud of it, but it was a bit oversized, so it made me look a bit bigger than I was. And then I went to my mom, and at work I basically witnessed 2 women discussing that I'm too fat. I don't look bad, but I'm too fat. And my mom didn't even protect me. She didn't even, well, she said to these women something like, okay, well, she is not fat, it's just a t-shirt. Yes, so this is Russia. Russia, my favorite country. And this is typical of Russia, but also I have my own issues. What you should also know about Russia, we are historically very bad with boundaries. And please don't speak about our inherited slavery, because if you call Russians slaves, that doesn't make you any better than Russia propaganda. So love, peace, and don't do that, okay? It's not really intelligent of you if you do. But we were really bad at boundaries in Russia because we had this macabre, this crazy dance on each other's boundaries, and it's not really considered nice, it's not considered polite to protect your boundaries. And you can even see it in Russian literature. Last month I succeeded in finishing Dostoevsky, The Devils. I cannot extremely recommend this book to you if you don't know Russian history, but it's definitely an interesting piece of literature. And there, this character, Pyotr Verkhovensky, who is unpleasant, and many people realize that he's not really nice. They don't really want to see him as a guest in his houses, and still he comes and they accept him. He asks for tea, he asks for food, and nobody kicks him out. And this is such Russia. Like, I don't know, hospitality, dumbness, what it is, I don't know. That's why probably we are prone to dictatorship, because we're like, okay, someone is pushing our boundaries, okay, we'll tolerate. We should stop doing it. It's not in our genetics, it's just, yeah, learned behavior. We should get rid of that, because I still can see it, even in my relatives. Like, don't need to go far for like situations to describe what I'm saying. For example, my aunt, she used to have a boyfriend, and her boyfriend once brought a woman to live with her randomly, and yeah, she had nowhere to live, and he brought this woman, and she stayed with my aunt for 10 years. What the heck? Yeah, so those are Russians. We're historically have issues. Yeah, so this is Russia. This is me as a Russian. We have quite caged minds because it's supported like from around us, and also this sense of collectivity, maybe back to the USSR, when everyone shared everything of the spaces, or I don't know. There are many reasons why it happens, but that's not the biggest point, because we are all traumatized children of our countries and our parents. I tend to people please quite often. I'm trying to get rid of that. I also, well, that's a big problem sometimes, to protect my boundaries, because I'm afraid of people, I'm afraid of their reaction, I'm afraid of losing people, etc., etc., etc. And it results in very unpleasant experiences sometimes. My favorite story from my childhood, but also my school years, not exactly my childhood, when I was on the bus and I asked a driver to stop at my bus stop. In Russia, drivers are crazy, especially, like, maybe not in Moscow, but in my hometown, at least it used to be like that. There were buses with similar routes, and sometimes they just like competed with each other, like on the races, and sometimes they missed your stop. And what happened to me, he missed my stop and he just rushed towards the next stop, and the next stop is in 15 minutes. And he asked me, is it okay if you get out at the next stop? And I was like, okay. And then I was just thinking, like, why I didn't say anything? Like, why I didn't protect my boundaries? Like, what the heck? If I had wanted to get out at the next stop, I would have done it. I would have asked you, okay? And I think it also charges you with this tremendous guilt that you cannot protect yourself, that someone intervenes and you lose your boundaries, someone pushes your boundaries. And it still happens to me constantly. Sometimes I have issues with the dog, Timotei. Well, sometimes it's hard to resist his puppy eyes, but I'm working on it. I think now he sees the authority in me. Before, well, I wouldn't be so sure that he saw the authority in me. And this is very important with dogs. And what I want to talk about, what I learned in therapy, because fortunately I have a therapist right now, and it's just so nice to be able to share your problems with someone. It's just, it warms up my soul to know that once a week I will have a person who would listen to me for 1 hour, and it's just such a relief, you know, because it's cool to have friends, but a therapist, it's much better. And yeah, what I learned from therapy about myself. It all happens because of everything tangled together. Shame learned from my family and from my country, and also manipulations often used by adults, people of older generations in Russia. It's also anxiety and fear and depression on the background, possibly too. But mostly it's fear and shame tangled. And what my therapist asked me, she asked me, okay, let's have some scenarios. What would happen if you say, for example, okay, it's none of your business. or I don't know, you can say whatever you want. One of my ready-made answers is also, we have this Russian singer Monetichka, and she's very cool, and she has this meme, something like, okay, I'm a singer of one song, and you?
Так у тебя сколько, что ли, 2? Так а сколько у тебя? У тебя сколько, что 2? У тебя что ли 2?
You have two? You have two or what? But yeah, you need to be brave to say like, and you have 2 husbands, or what, do you want to share? Or wives. But I don't think that wives and LGBTQ partners are in the area of this woman. Thinking of this woman who I had a chance to attend. And what I gave, or what my anxious mind gave, 3 reasons. Top 3 reasons. The first reason, she would shout at me. The second reason, she would kick me out of her surgery. And the third reason, she would hurt me. And yeah, I gave her so much power. And my therapist also asked me, like, okay, let's play it out. So you say, this is none of your business. And she basically responds, get out of here. Or she starts shouting. Or she just decides, okay, I will write something wrong, or I will just cause her as much pain as possible. And yeah, I gave her a lot of authority. The sad truth is that these things might happen in Russia. But yeah, they're not as scary, even in Russia, because I think if you write the wrong diagnosis, you'll go to jail. And if you start shouting at your patient, okay, you would just leave. I would just leave, okay? Like, worst case scenario, she starts shouting at me, and oh, okay, truce. What else? And yeah, the mind is infinite, as I always say, and it can draw any picture. It can be so scary, and when you produce it, when you pronounce it, doesn't look as scary anymore suddenly, and it looks even funny and stupid. And yeah, so those are the things that I feared. That I basically feared her reaction. And also, yeah, I'm used to be prepared for protecting my boundaries. But at the same time, you cannot be always prepared, right? You cannot always expect like a hit into your face, like a punch. But yeah, I think it's a long journey of learning how to protect your boundaries, and I cannot like give a solution to everyone. I think what thoughts that came to me is that you start with basics, with your mental health. You make yourself feel at least a bit better, and then step by step it will be improving. If you manage to like twist your depression, like keep it together, and you're in remission, for example, it's already easier to pass to your boundaries. And it's also self-confidence, because my self-confidence is just somewhere on the floor. And it also it consists of so many things that when people just say like, yeah, those are my top 3 things that made me confident, but it's not exactly true, because it's like sometimes years of work, and you try it and when you're in a very bad place, it doesn't work as this person promised you to work, and you're just so disappointed in yourself and the world and everything, in your therapy and your pills and whatever. You'll be so disappointed. And for me it was really a very big work, and I still struggle. I think I sometimes I'm more stable, sometimes I'm less stable. A big step for me was like getting glasses. I'm actually a blind mole. I'm a blind bat without my glasses, but it was my principle. I never wore my glasses because, yes, when I was a child, my parents didn't really care what was going on with my eyes. They tried to care, but not that much. And that was also a step for gaining confidence. And there were so many little steps that for everyone they're different. You can just write to yourself, okay, I should work on this, this and that, but without hate. Please, because hate never, never, ever helps. Okay, and what would I say in the end? For people who struggle with anxiety like me and who fail to protect their boundaries all the time. Well, first of all, don't judge yourself. Don't hate yourself for that, because it happens. And I know it's very unpleasant, this sticky feeling, disgusting, as if you're very physically very hurt. And yeah, I spent a lot of time struggling. Like, don't do anything reckless at that very moment, because it will get better like the next day or 2 days after. And yeah, I really recommend to get help, or to try to help yourself at least a bit, to do some yoga, try to do something that helps you to relax. Or if you don't know what helps you to relax, it's time to know something about yourself, understand what helps you to relax. And about myself, I don't know, like the next time that I have to protect my honor. I think I love Zuko too much from Avatar. While watching Avatar with my friend, it just passed over me when I was a child, and now I'm like, Team Zuko. I'm fine, I promise. Yeah, and when if I'm going to fail or not to protect my boundaries next time, I actually have no idea. But I think I will personally try to work more on building up my confidence. And yeah, I think it's already getting better. I will continue working with my therapist, but all the years before I didn't have a therapist, and the support of my friends helped a lot. And also trying to find your style, to try different clothes, different jewelry, I don't know. It's not necessarily like fashion kind of it's not necessarily, it shouldn't be fashionable if you don't want to. The main thing that you feel comfortable and you feel yourself, but it also can play a role in your confidence, your hairstyle, your everything. And also learning more about yourself can also help. And yeah, basically what I heard, I don't know if it's true, but a big part of depression is self-hatred that had accumulated and now is against you, your own body. So yeah, maybe self-hatred is also a step forward in protecting your boundaries. I will continue my fight for my honor, and I hope I will never see this doctor ever again, and I hope next time I will protect myself without any difficulties. And yeah, I wish the same for you. I also wish you love, love, and peace, peace. Hannah, Northern German. Tschüss.